chapter 8, Surrender and Humility. This is a very special text which was compiled by our grandfather Guru Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and it's a treatise on the subject of Sharanagati, which means surrender. And for those in the Bhakti tradition, surrender, it is the very foundation of all of our spiritual practice, because the premise of our practice is not that we are able to actually approach the Lord or divinity, but that they are able to approach us. We are the finites. What capacity do we have to approach the infinite? However, the infinite, out of his mercy, can approach us and descend to us, reveal himself to us. And so how is that possible? Through the spirit of Sharanagati, through the spirit of surrender. And surrender is really the deepest expression of love. That, love to a higher being. That I love you so much to the extent that I want to give myself to you, that I want to offer myself to you for your purpose, for your divine purpose. So this spirit is very central, very fundamental for us, and so Srila Sridhar Maharaj has so kindly put together this work, which it's a mixed work in the sense that it's much of his own original writings, but it's also a compilation of verses of many other great Vaishnava saints throughout the ages. And so he has some sections with his own original verses, and then he's presenting verses from the writings of saints throughout history, and then putting some illumination of his own to draw out the essence of that expression. And so we've been through the first 5 of these 6, which are Anukulyasya Sankalpa. We were mentioning this last night, that acceptance of the favorable, to accept what is favorable for our devotional life. Pratikulya Vivarjana, to reject that which is unfavorable. Anukulyasya Sankalpa, Pratikulya Vivarjana. Rakshishutiti Vishwasa, to have confidence in the Lord's protection over oneself. Goptritve Vadanam, to embrace the Lord's guardianship over oneself. And then the 5th, Atma Nikshepa, or Atma Nivedan, which means full self-surrender, to fully offer oneself. And then now the 6th one here is humility. And as we were discussing yesterday, the expression of humility, it has 2, how can we say, there are 2 stages, we can say. There's, like, for persons like us as practitioners, there's the humility that comes out of just realizing our condition, our condition within this material world, our state of being conditioned souls, of being caught up with the material energy, bound up with all of our material desires and misconceptions and so on. And so there's a humility that comes out of just this revelation, this clarity of one's own condition in this world, and that we are actually bright spiritual beings, but at the moment we're identifying with this world of matter and so many lower things. Our prospect is very high. Our innate identity is so great, but now where are we? That great potential we have, we were neglecting that. So there's a humility that comes out of that. And then at a higher level, there's the humility that comes, and that will also be experienced to some degree for practitioners like ourselves, but especially for the evolved souls, for the enlightened souls, there's a deep humility that comes out due to their deep connection with the Lord, with divinity. So that's like a divine humility, we can say. And so in this chapter, we'll see both of these expressions of humility. They are demonstrated. And so now the verses which we went through yesterday, and also what we're coming to now, they are more on this more, primary level of expression. Jai Shri Gurudev. And if anyone wants to comment or ask anything at any point, please feel free. So I'll just read again this verse we finished on yesterday because it's so nice. Udbuddha Sarupe Swabhava Karpanyam. This is Srila Maharaj's illumination. Number 4, verse 4.
Downloads I can share with you.
You haven't been able to get it on your iPad because you've got that nice big screen.
I tried downloading it, and whenever I tried to access the link through the iPad, even when I had the internet, it wouldn't access through the iPad, and it normally does through the phone. I don't know, it's weird.
Oh, maybe later I can have a look.
That would be good.
Because on that little screen it's a bit tough.
And I kept getting 404 page not found, but on
really?
here I was finding it.
Huh.
It's just not downloading this morning, but I'll keep trying.
Okay.
Bit quirky. I don't know what's
Udbuddha Sarupe Swabhava Karpanyam. Humility is the natural symptom of the soul in his awakened state. Parama karunikuna bhavatpada padama shochatma nachamatpada iti vichincha hare mai pamade yaduchitam yadunata tadachara. O Lord Hari, you are the supreme merciful, second to none, and my condition of life is the most lamentable, second to none. O Lord of the Yadu dynasty, considering this, dispense whatever you deem fit for this sinful wretch. Maya vasha jivasya maya disha kripaika gatitvam. The only hope for the soul enslaved by Maya is the mercy of the master of Maya. You're familiar with the word, of course. Okay. So the only hope for the soul enslaved by Maya is the mercy of the master of Maya. And this is a verse by Prahlad Maharaj. Naitan manastava katasu vikuntanata sampriyate durita dushtam asadu tivram kamataram harsha shoka vayaishanartam tasmin katam tavagatim vimishami dina. And then there's not a direct translation of that Sanskrit, but a Bengali expanded translation by Srila Saraswati Thakur. Durita dushita manasadu manas kamaharsha shokbai ishanadavash tavakatarati kise hoibe amar kise Krishna tavalila koribo vichar. Sinful, wicked mind, full of evil thoughts, lusting, laughing, crying, fearing, and worldly search is caught. O Krishna, how will I develop attachment to talks of you? How will I ever comprehend your pastimes ever new? And the next verse. Krishna mukha chitte bada bhavasya dorvilasa parichaya. A game of misfortune and adverse mentality in the heart aspiring to serve Krishna. And this is also Prahlad. Jivai kato chutta vikarshati mavichutta shishno nyatastva gudadam shavanam kutaschit grano nyatash chapala drikva chakarma shaktiya bhavasa patnya iva geha patim lunanti. And again there's a Bengali verse translation by Srila Saraswati Thakur. Jivatane rasa prati upashta kadarte Udar bojane tane vishamanarte, charmatane shayadite shavan katai, ganatane surabite chakshudishiraj, karmendriya karmetane bahupatniyata, vihapati akashai mormanatata, emata vastamor shinandanandan, kirupe tomar lila koribos madam. And the translation of that. Dragged by tongue towards a taste, by genital to perversion, needlessly the belly craves lavish food consumption. The skin demands luxurious comforts. The ear demands sweet talks. The nose demands sweet fragrance as the eye for scenery looks. Like a man with many wives, splayed by their demands, thus the mind is dragged by the senses' commands. O dear son of Nanda, this is my situation. How will your sweet pastimes be my heart's contemplation? Wow, it's so heavy. But I can really relate. I can totally relate. It's so like a raw exposure. I really like that analogy. A man with many wives, displayed by their demand. Because that's actually, at least for myself, like your senses are, pulling you in all these different directions, and you can't. Especially now, like with all this modern technology and all the facility that is afforded, that is available, it feeds into that, I mean, if you think about it, it's we have this things that the yogis, the ancient yogis could do with their mystic power. We can do with the flip of a switch, perfectly control the temperature. We can make our food hot or cold according to our whim. We've got 50 different types of sugar, 50 different types of flour. If we want to, we can float on water. We can cross 10,000 miles in a couple hours. This is crazy stuff.
Talk to other people in the
other people in the this is people wouldn't believe this. Srila Srinivas has made that point. If there was some atomic blast and modern civilization was destroyed, the people who came up, they wouldn't believe. They'd find some traces of airplanes, and nowadays people don't believe about these yogis in the past, but what we have going now, people wouldn't believe it in the future. So, but the point I'm making is it's actually a little scary, the level of control that we have, and the ability to which we're able to express our whims, our whimsical desires. It's it's a little scary, So what I'm saying is these desires that we have, these sensory impulses that we have, they're all being reinforced in a really serious way because we have this kind of facility. So it's actually really healthy to sit back and watch there's a whole show going on, I want to hear this type of music right now. I want to see this before me right now. I want to have this experience right now. I'm in the cold. I want to experience the sun. I'll fly tomorrow to this place, So it's so healthy to take a step back and observe this and realize I'm actually a slave. I think I'm in control, but I'm actually a slave to these things. Person's idea of freedom is actually warped. Freedom to, as Srila Srinivas expressed it, freedom of the senses or freedom from the senses. We need to think about that. And Srila Srinivas, he made a really nice point too. He said in Sanskrit, the word for freedom, swadhinata, it means to have self-mastership. To have self-control. That's the word for freedom. That's real freedom. To be in a place where you're free from the demands of your body, your mind, your senses, and you're living in consciousness of the higher self. So it's this whole show playing out, and we're buying into it, but we've actually become a slave, to all of these demands. And just if a man has many wives, he thinks it's a good deal in the beginning to have a good time. But actually, it's trouble. We weren't thinking through when we signed the contract. So, we were reading that verse we were discussing the other day, real happiness will come from being free of material desires, not chasing after them and fulfilling them. By nature, they're entangling you more and more, and you're never actually satisfied. So real freedom is to be in a real peace, is when you're in a place where you can withdraw from those things. You're free from those things.
Just on a really mundane level, I saw this cartoon the other day. It's like the stone, like back in the caveman days, and a man was with this club, and he was dragging a woman into the cave by her hair, dragging on the floor. And then the next cartoon is she's coming out of the cave with him on a lead.
So cute.
That's wonderful.
She fixed it.
That's what the material energy is like. Like, you're enticed. You're enticed, but in the end, you're the one who's a slave.
It just reminded me of that.
Really funny. The struggle.
There's some idea like that's presented in the Vedic culture. I heard of it on a tape of Srila Srinivas. Someone was mentioning it to him. Some painting. It's showing Maya Devi, the Maya Shakti personified, standing on Shiva, Lord Shiva. Like she's totally conquered him, she's in control. And as I remember, Srila Srinivas explained, the idea there is that Jiva is meant to be like Shiva, in the sense that of being like Shiva's the master of the material energy. So the Jiva is meant to be like Shiva. Sometimes Jiva is described as being Shiva. However, the situation now is that they should be beyond the material energy, in control of that, but they're being controlled by that. Actually their position is one of dignity, but now they've been conquered by the material energy. And that's what it is. It's that contract that you didn't really read the fine print, and you think it's a good deal, when you sign up for it. But it's a clever. And this is one context of speaking of the material energy, but in a deeper sense, we also understand the material energy is she's doing her work, as we mentioned the other day, and it's about quality control, and testing us to become stronger and to become free of these attractions, and realize that true bright self within. Okay. Next verse. Purushottam seva partino bhaktasya nijalaja karayogyata nivedanam. The regretful submission of incompetence by the devotee who aspires for the service for the Supreme Person. Mattulyo nasti papatma naparadi chakaschana pariharepi lajame kimbhuve purushottama. There is no parallel to my sinful criminal life. Everything that can be conceived of as bad is found in me. O Supreme Lord, I am even ashamed to come before you to petition. Please forgive my offenses. What more can I say than this? And this is one of the most heartbreaking expressions. And this is spoken by Rupa and Sanatan when they first met with Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu was on his way to Puri, and he was on his way to Vrindavan from Puri, and he stopped in Ramkeli. And at that time, Rupa and Sanatan, they were very involved in the Muslim government, and they had these high, governmental positions, and they were very entangled in all these worldly affairs. And And so they came secretly to meet with Mahaprabhu, you know. And you know, I think secretly because they didn't want to compromise his position, you know, because Mahaprabhu was this great Messiah personality, and they didn't want to draw too much attention because the Muslim government was quite antagonistic at that time. And so they didn't want to draw too much attention to him, you know, it's like being this powerful person. So they went secretly in the like at midnight to see him, and they you know, they left aside their, like, you know, their normal, you know, dress that they would wear, and they came like in Vaishnav dress and with straw between their teeth, which is a symbol of humility, and the prayers that they're, at least some are recorded in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and this is one of them, and it's painful, you know, this mood of humility that they have, and at a certain point Mahaprabhu even told them, like, please stop, you know, like, your humility is breaking my heart. And you know, how is this expression coming from them? Because they're feeling such a deep connection with the Lord and with His wonder, and so correspondingly they're feeling themselves to be very insignificant by comparison. There's another one there, very beautiful, which I can never remember, but saying that we even feel like shy to come in front of you. You know, we feel unworthy even to be seen by you. But at the same time, you are so attractive, and you're so beautiful, and you're so merciful and so wonderful. We can't help ourselves. We're irresistibly drawn, you know. Mangalamoy Bhagavam Namabase Papinam Atmadikara. The sinful revile themselves when they are exposed to a mere facsimile of the all-auspicious holy name of the Lord. Kwa chaham kitava papo brahmagno hirapachapa kwa chanara yanityetat bhagavanama mangalam. Who am I, a cheater, a sinner, a defiler of my Brahminical status, a shameless wretch? What is my position in comparison to this holy name of the Lord Narayan, the embodiment of all auspiciousness? And this is spoken by Ajamil, and his history is recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam, that he was like a very pious man, religious man, a Brahmin, but I don't remember the details, but at some point he just began to live a very degraded life, and he was mixing with prostitutes and like that, just completely left his spiritual practice. But then what happened with him is he had a son who he called Narayan, Lord Vishnu, and he was on his deathbed. He was dying, and as he was dying, then because his lifestyle had been so low and so degraded and so bad, then some Yamadutas, they're like agents of Yamaraj, who manages the nether regions, you know, the hellish plains, and so they came like to take him for his, you know, rectification. And at that moment he was so frightened seeing them, and then he called out for his son Narayan, and because his son's name Narayan is a name for the Lord, then there was some potency in that, and so then some Vishnu Dutas came, some agents of Lord Vishnu, and they came, and so then there was this like little fight with the Yamadutas, and they explained, and the Vishnu Duta said, oh, you know, the Yamaduta said, we're here to take him to our place, and they're like, no, you can't take him, because he's just chanted the name of Narayan. And they're like, we didn't know about that. So the Vishnuduta said, you need to go and talk to your master. He'll explain, he's not in your jurisdiction anymore. And because there's 3 types of name chanting. There's Shuddha Nam, which means the pure name. And then there's 3 principal types, we can say, and everything in between. But there's Shuddha Nam, the pure name, one who has a fully purified heart and they're calling with devotion. And then there's Namaparad, which means offensive chanting. So it means chanting with material desires, or chanting with misconception, with evil intent, or so on and so forth. And then there's Namabhas, and Namabhas means shadow of the name. And so that means someone chanting not quite on either side of the fence, but like it's like a negligent chanting, and that can take place unconsciously. That can be like someone in an innocent condition chanting the name, not like consciously meaning the Lord, but they're not meaning anything bad either. And so if the Lord wills it, then that type of chanting, it can have that potency. And one can, it said that one can actually become liberated through Namabhas. And that shows you how powerful the name is. That just through an unconscious chanting, it's possible one can become free from the material environment. Not that it can give one positive entrance into the dynamic spiritual world, but it can actually free one from their entanglement in this world. So it's quite a serious thing. And there's an example given by Haridas Thakur that in the early morning, even before the sun has begun to rise from the horizon, there's already light that's beginning to pervade in the atmosphere. If you're going to watch the sunrise, you'll see even before you see the sun, the light's already spreading. So in the same way, even before the pure name has manifest, one can become purified by even a shadow of that name. So that's what happened with Ajamil. And because of his previous, pious activity, that was in the background, and that connected with this chanting at this moment. And so it actually, it saved him. And so then what happened is he was given some extension of life, and he, readjusted himself and again took up his spiritual practice. And so here he's expressing, how his feeling of humility before the mercy of the name. I wasn't even like calling out, really and consciously, but the name is so magnanimous, so auspicious, and feeling this lowliness before that. Shri Bhagavat Kripodai Brahma Bandhunam Daridriyam Apina Badakam. The Lord's mercy does not consider the disqualification of even a fallen Brahmin. Qua ham daridra papiyan, qua Krishna shiniketana, Brahma bandhuriti smaham, bahubhyam parirambitaha. I am the most sinful and destitute, so who am I compared to Krishna, the shelter of the goddess of fortune? He knew I was the unqualified son of a Brahmin, but nonetheless he embraced me. Indeed, this is most astonishing. And this is a very beautiful verse. This is spoken by Sudama. And Sudama, he was a childhood friend of Krishna's. At a certain age, Krishna, he was sent for training. That was the tradition. Once you get to like 7 or 8 or something, then you go to stay with a guru in an ashram, and you receive instruction and training, and so Krishna went through that process. I'm not exactly sure what period, but as a boy. And And you know, Krishna's example is so beautiful because he was like the perfect disciple, and he would go and collect firewood and, you know, and engage in all these practical things, and so his like buddy, you know, his good friend was this Sudama. And so, you know, they had their period at this ashram, receiving Sandipani Muni was their teacher. And then, so they were there for some time, and then they both left and carried on with their lives. And so Krishna became this great, you know, prince in Dwarka. You know, so many palaces, so many queens, so much wealth, and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, Sudama, he was very poor. And he was, you know, this whole caste system in India, you know, very prejudiced, and so he's considered a Brahma Bandhu, which means like it's like someone who's born into a Brahmin family, but they're not considered to be qualified enough to be, you know, treated as a Brahmin, you know. So some disregard for them is there, you know, within society, and he was also extremely poor, and Sudama, you know, he's a saint, he's a Vaishnava, and he was not disturbed, you know, he was happy, peaceful, living with nothing, but his wife was I don't know if it was about herself at all, but she was definitely concerned for her husband. She wasn't happy to see him living like this. And she thought also Krishna, she knew Krishna was his childhood friend, and so she thought, you know, Krishna also wouldn't be happy to see him living like this, and so Krishna would like to help him. But she thought, you know, I can't tell him that directly, I can't tell my husband that directly, he wouldn't accept. And so she told him, why don't you go and visit your old friend Krishna? You haven't seen him for a very long time. And so he thought, yes, that's a good idea. And so he prepared to go. And you know, it's traditional, if you're visiting someone, you bring some gift, you know, and you know, they had practically nothing. But he made some packet of rice, some like you know, broken rice, very poor, cheap rice. He made some little packet bundle with that, and he went on his way, and he reached Krishna's palace in Dwarka, and Krishna received him with so much honor, with so much love and affection, because Krishna, he appears in Vrindavan he's in the Vaishya caste, and then in Dwarka he's in the Kshatriya caste. So the Kshatriyas, they are like the rulers, the ones in control, running things. However, the Kshatriyas, they you know, traditionally, they will seek advice from the Brahmins, and they'll honor the Brahmins. The Brahmins are considered worshipable by all. And so Krishna was, you know, it was so beautiful. He treated Sudama in this very worshipable way, and you know, sat him on a very, you know, honorable seat, and personally washed his feet and offered worship to him, and then they had this grand feast, you know, took prasadam, and Krishna's wives were personally serving him and tending to him, and Sudama, you know, so, you know, overwhelmed by this, and then also he was feeling like seeing the opulence that Krishna was living in. You know, he was looking at this little packet that he brought. You know, I can't give this to him. You know, this, you know, all this royal opulence he has, and what is this little packet of broken rice to him? And so he was hiding that, you know. And then at a certain point, Krishna noticed it, and he went forcefully to take it. Oh, what is this that you have here? And Sudama was, no. But Krishna opened it, and he ate that. And then Sudama, you know, the visit was over. They had this wonderful exchange, and then he left. And then when he got home, in place of his home there was this grand palace. So it's this wonderful exchange, you know. Sudama's like this poor man with nothing, you know, on the outskirts of society, and Krishna receives him with this just incredible degree of love and affection. And so this is his beautiful expression here, you know, who am I? You know, I am the lowest person, but Krishna, he embraced me, you know, he gave his you know, unreserved affection to me. And I think of this verse when I think of Gurudev's love and affection, because, you know, like, you know, who am I? You know, but I'm nobody, I'm nothing, but he gave, and not that there's any reason on his side, you know, but just out of his love and mercy, he gave everything. He gave so much mercy, so much affection. You know, that transaction of divine mercy, it's so beautiful. Vidatra Hari Sambandhi Pashvadi Janma Prarthana. Even the universal creator, Brahma, prays to be born as an animal or a bird, if that is conducive to the service of Lord Hari. And there's a Bengali verse of this. E Brahma janme va anya kon bhave, pashu pakshi hoye janmi tomari bhave. E matra ashatava bhaktagana sange, takitava paraseva korina narange. In this life as Lord Brahma, or in any other place, if I'm born as beast or bird, that will be your grace. My only aspiration is to be with your servants, and in your pastime serve your feet as one of your attendants. So this, you know, this juxtaposition is being made here to highlight the value of that loving connection with the Lord. You know, Lord Brahma, who's the creator, who has the highest position within the whole material existence, he's perceiving the value, not Lord Brahma, it's not that this is Lord Brahma speaking, but oh no, Srila Srinivas does take it in that way. But anyhow, you know, Lord Brahma, he's perceiving the value of this connection, loving connection with the Lord, and loving connection with the devotees of the Lord. That is infinitely more valuable than any material attainment that one may achieve. So, you know, that appreciation is bringing one to this position of deep humility. Let me be born as an insect. If that will facilitate my connection with you and your devotees. No, that is the most valuable thing. That is a very deep expression of humility. Let me be born as a beast or a bird, or as in the other expression we read, as an insect. If I can live in consciousness of you, if I can have the company of your devotees, that is the only valuable thing. So it's a very, you know, it's a helpful contrast, you know, like what do we really want, what is actually valuable. Ananya Shadaneshu Mrigeshwapi Bhagavad Kripa. The Lord is merciful upon even the animals who have exclusively surrendered unto Him. Kim Chitram Achuta Tavaita Dashesha Bandho Dasas Dasa Dasheshvananya Shadaneshu Yad Atma Sattvam Yorochayat Saha Mrigai Swayam Ishvaranam Shrimat Kirita Tata Pidita Pada Pitaha. And this is spoken by Krishna's dear friend Uddhava. O Lord Krishna, friend of all, in your form of Lord Ram, even when the tips of the magnificent crowns of the great gods, headed by Lord Brahma, were subjugated before your lotus feet, you simply showed your affection for the monkeys. Thus it is no wonder that you were seen to be subordinate to your exclusive servitors. such as Nanda Maharaj, the gopis, Bali, and others. Krishna is drawn by the natural flow of love and affection. He's not, awe and reverence, respect, and he's, this mood, it doesn't attract him, so much. But the natural expression of love and affection, so even coming from the monkeys, he's preferring that to this, great show of respect coming from the gods. And thus it is no wonder that you are seen to be subordinate to your exclusive servitors, such as Nanda Maharaj, the gopis, Bali, and others. There's one, that sweetness, that is what moves him. That, intimacy, that natural expression. So, that's what we worship as being the highest idea. Not that we imitate that now, but we understand that to be the highest thing. There's also one expression, maybe it's included in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but saying how when Krishna's hearing the personified Vedas, they're offering, this extensive, respect, and such praise, such glorification, but if Krishna's beloved begins to rebuke him, that his mind is stolen by that, that's attracting his heart, more, the chastisement of an intimate, somebody intimate, that is more pleasing to him than someone who's offering, reverential worship like that. So we worship that, that is the Vrindavan playing, the Vrindavan mood. What time is it? I wanted to, maybe we can stop there because I wanted to say something. I forgot, yesterday it was I think it was the disappearance day, maybe the appearance, but probably disappearance of Srinivas Acharya. And he was a very great devotee. He was part of it was also Narottam's disappearance day. But we told something of the story with Srinivas too. We can say something more. This like group, Narottam, Srinivas, and Shamananda, they were these three they were they were teenagers, like these young. Well, when they started out, they were like this new generation, this new wave after Mahaprabhu left, and the three of them, they did so much to keep Mahaprabhu's teachings alive. And Srinivas, he was like the leader of the group, and his life is like full of separation because he just missed Mahaprabhu, and I think he might have been born in what's Bangladesh now, what was East Bengal, and he traveled from there hoping to see Mahaprabhu in Puri. And on the way he stopped in Navadvip and he met Vishnu Priya there, Mahaprabhu's wife before, and she gave her mercy to him. But then on his way to Puri, Mahaprabhu left the world, so he just missed him. So it was this, heartbreaking thing for him to arrive there, and he just missed Mahaprabhu. And then he met with Gadadhar Pandit, who was one of the most intimate associates of Mahaprabhu. And Gadadhar Pandit, so he was feeling like, oh, I can have the association of Gadadhar Pandit. And Gadadhar Pandit told him, "Oh, Mahaprabhu, he ordered me to give instruction to you. He wanted me to instruct you in Srimad Bhagavatam." And so Srinivas was very happy about that. But Gadadhar said, "But I don't have a copy of the book." It's not like nowadays you can just go, Google it, or, like having like a book, it was like a big deal. It'd be there's no printing, everything's handwritten, palm leaves. And so Gadadhar told him, I don't have, the only problem is I don't have a copy of the book. And actually, that story is also very wonderful, that when Mahaprabhu was in his deep mood of separation in his last years, one of the persons, like very intimate friends who he would seek comfort, solace from, was Gadadhar. And Mahaprabhu would go every day to visit Gadadhar, and Gadadhar would give him solace through the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And so it was like this extraordinary exchange that they had, that Mahaprabhu would come in this deep mood of separation from the Lord, and Gadadhar would give it. Srila Sridhar wrote a very beautiful verse where he compares this exchange they had to like a friend who's like suffering from a heartbreak, and then their friend is giving them wine. Like people would drown their sorrows with wine. So Gadadhar Pandit, he was like giving relief to Mahaprabhu with the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, like a type of wine, giving some relief. And then while this was going on, Gadadhar Pandit, he's got his own world of emotion going on, seeing how Mahaprabhu's in this intense condition. And so Gadadhar, while he's reading the verses of the Bhagavatam from this text, he's crying. And as he's crying, he's washing away the letters of the book. So, it's just mind-blowing to hear this, So he's like in his own world of intensity, he's crying, and as he's reading the verses are being washed away from the pages. And so this was why Gadadhar Pandit didn't have a copy of the book. So he told. This verse Srila Srinivas wrote, it's just most extraordinary thing, you'll ever come across, Nilam bodhitates sarasva viraha kepamvitam bandhavam Srimad Bhagavati Katha Madhiraya Sanjivaya Mativa, describing how Gadadhar is like reviving, trying to give life to his beloved friend, through these wine-like verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, and his tears are falling like flower offerings onto the pages of the book, Nilam Bodhi today on the bank of the broad blue ocean in Puri. And there's more levels to this verse too, but it's enough for now. And Srila Goswami Maharaj, he told a very wonderful experience he had with that verse, that because Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, he had that conversation. He had this conversation once with Srila Sridhar Maharaj in Bengali that went on for like 2 or 3 hours. And one of Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada's disciples was there, just observing this, an American, not knowing anything they're talking about. And at the end, and no doubt had like never seen his guru like that before, like with a friend, like talking like this in this animated way. And so I think it was a Chutananda, and so later he asked Srila Swami Maharaj, what were you two talking about, for so long? And Srila Prabhupada wouldn't tell him, and and he just said, if I were to tell you, you would faint. Like you couldn't handle it, where you're living now, you would faint. And so then so many years later, Goswami Maharaj, he asked Srila Sridhar Maharaj, what are one of those things that would make you faint? I want to know about that.
Yeah. Curiosity.
Yeah. and Srila Gurudev there was the two of them one afternoon, Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Srila Gurudev. And Goswami Maharaj came and asked this, and first Srila Sridhar Maharaj didn't understand, and he turned to Gurudev, and Gurudev understood. You remember that there was that conversation you had, and it was mentioned, it would make one faint to hear that, And Srila Sridhar Maharaj laughed, and then he consulted with Gurudev, what do you think, And then Gurudev selected this verse, to blow Goswami Maharaj's mind. So they gave that, maybe Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave some explanation of that verse. And Goswami Maharaj said it was so intense for him, okay, just hearing the explanation, that's already pretty mind-blowing or consciousness expanding, we can say. But to hear Srila Sridhar Maharaj telling that verse from his plane of high consciousness, and he said it was this whole higher plane of existence was projected upon him, and just knocked him down.
Did they?
Well, he said he staggered out. He staggered out, and he leans on the wall outside. Because we're, one way you can understand this, if you have a 5-year-old and you're trying to explain, PhD level something, they'll get 0.1% of that, and the rest is whoa, mind blank. Or we'll also experience, or I definitely experience, because my intellect is limited. If someone with superior intellect is going on about something, I'm getting bits, can't keep up. But through more immersion, or if you're just being exposed to something new, a new language, a new culture, you'll get bits here and there, But through repeated exposure, it becomes something more familiar. You'll develop, you'll expand. But in the beginning, it will be like that. So in the same way, the way we're living is diametrically opposite to where the realized souls are living. What we're identifying with, the world of our mind, our senses, the physical world, that's totally opposite to where the higher souls are living. They're seeing consciousness, they're seeing soul, they're seeing spirit, and they're seeing this whole this how do Guru call it? A passing show, it's like a circus. It's this show, this whole world we're in right now that we identify with. We don't need to be in it. We identify with it.
So he got a transmission.
He got a transmission.
He got let into the energy.
He got a peep.
For a bit there, yeah. Got more than he bargained for. So curiosity killed the cat. There's a good bit in the Bible. One of the old prophets, I think it's Samuel, but he was a powerful, and an angel manifested to him, and I mean people were scared of this guy, Samuel, but he just was in bed for about 4 or 5 months. He didn't move.
After he had this experience.
Yeah, he had total chronic fatigue for 4 or 5 months. Couldn't move. And he's a powerful spiritual being.
This is recorded in the Bible?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a little bit. You just got to read that, fill the dots, But yeah.
If that higher plane of reality comes and
blows you,
it knocks you out.
Around says, "Oh, I'd like to see an angel,"
You couldn't handle it.
I always remember in the early days, Satyananda used to say, if you want to be a receptor, if the energy's coming through and you want to be a receptor, you've got to get your wires, strong enough, otherwise you just blow out if that energy comes down. If we try and get it before we're ready. Sort of.
Yeah, premature Kundalini will just blow your head off.
And that's why you do the yoga practice, to prepare your nervous system to be able to handle.
That's right. Yeah.
Hopefully.
That's funny. That's a good story.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually what we're trying to do right now. Gurudev would say that a lot. Prepare ourselves, become receivers.
That's right. Tune ourselves more and more.
Yeah,
and more.
Gurudev would use the example of wiring, of radios also.
Yeah.
Like if we align our wires properly, then we can receive those divine transmissions.
And when you think of it as frequency, it's that energy. It is a frequency, and like we don't pick up high frequencies like animals might pick up something higher than we do, different frequencies. So and it makes so much sense to think of it like tuning yourself up and getting into that higher energy, so you can perceive more. Yeah, more can come to you, more can come down. Perceive more. Beautiful.
Well, just finish the story with Srinivas Acharya. So Gadadhar Pandit told him, I've been told, Mahaprabhu told me to instruct you in Bhagavatam. You'll become, a wonderful speaker of Bhagavatam. However, I don't have a book, so please can you try and get a book? And so Srinivas had to go back to Bengal, and he had some scribe, make this book, and that must have taken some time. I don't know how long, some weeks, some months. And then he came back to Puri to meet Gadadhar again. But Gadadhar just left the world. So he was devastated. He was heartbroken. And so then what happened is he ended up going to traveling to Vrindavan, and he took shelter of Jiva Goswami and the other Vaishnavas there. But what happened is, because although he didn't receive the direct instruction of Gadadhar, because Gadadhar had given his blessings to him, he given his will, backing him, he became the most extraordinary teacher of Bhagavatam. All this realization just descended within him, and he had this very profound understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam, even though that physical exchange hadn't taken place. Because of his will and that spiritual backing, then it all descended within him. And I mentioned some weeks ago, when it was Narottam Thakur's disappearance day, there's this description of one of his talks on Srimad Bhagavatam, where everybody was utterly moved, and he ended up becoming the guru of the entire region. Everybody came to take shelter of him, including the king. But this description, we don't know exactly what it means, but in this description, this is someone who was present. It's recorded in some notebooks. They said that the talk was so beautiful, was so sweet, that the walls were melting. and again, I don't know exactly what that means, and whether that's literal or not, but it gives us some idea how sweet it was, and how extraordinary it was. So it's a very, very encouraging, very, very hopeful thing. That, that extension of divine will, divine grace, it's independent of physical circumstances, the physical exchange. If we can receive that, we can draw that grace. And it doesn't need to be in how we would normally conceive it. And these great gurus, these great Vaishnavas, their presence is eternal, and their grace is eternal. They can always bless us. They can always grace us at any point, any time, place, circumstance.